Welcome back to another episode of the Carbon Cardboard Podcast. I'm your host, Bryan, Q3 Cards, joined as always with my good friend Scott from the F1 Castle.
What's going on, folks? 2 in 1 week.
2 in 1 week. And what a week, because it's Monaco week.
Oh, yeah. The crown jewel of the Formula One circuit.
Did I see, Scott, that it's the 70th running of the Monaco Grand Prix?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So it's tricky, right? It's the 70th year that it's been in Formula One, right? Like it's been part of the Formula One circuit since 54. But the issue is that it was on the Formula One circuit for a few years and then it came off. But now it has been running for 70 years straight as part of the calendar for the Formula One calendar. But I mean, they were racing in Monaco back in like the 20s. You know, they had like the, cigarette czars over there, like, like, hey guys, let's take our cars and ride them around the city of Monte Carlo. And
you ever see any of like the old highlights of them driving the first Formula One cars on the track? It looked scary as all heck. We're a family-friendly show, but man, like those guys had no fear whatsoever.
Absolutely terrifying. And half the time they ended up in the bay. They were like going off into the water.
Like, if they travel into the future, they'd be hanging out with Kimmy on his yacht over there. But
there you go. That's right, having a nice little ice cream.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Monaco. Obviously, at the time of recording, it's Thursday evening here on the East Coast. By the time you either watch or listen to this, FP1 will already be in the book. So we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect, why qualifying is so important for this track. And there's some really cool, I'm a huge fan of what McLaren's doing this weekend. So we're going to show some of those photos here in a little bit. So let's just dive right in, Scott.
Oh yeah.
Let's just do this, because Monaco, like you said, love the artwork for here. You've got that first car that we were just talking about, followed by what looks to be Senna's McLaren.
Oh yeah, MP48 for sure.
And then the RB19,
the dominant Red Bull.
Yes. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how dominant, or what is the Red Bull performance, because Max has already kind of set expectations a little bit that a lot of different things can happen at Monaco. You sometimes have surprise podium, Esteban Ocon.
Yeah.
You can have people like Fernando Alonso really backing up the field if he wants to. It is really tough to pass. So that just makes qualifying,
I mean,
you said, so much more important.
Olivia Panis won this way back in, I think it was the 90s. Only 3 cars, crossed the check flag, but anyone can win it. We could see Stroll first time win
that
here in Monaco.
I think it's more likely that he bins it than wins.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. He might bin it instead of win it.
Maybe. Oh, this sounds like a castle call.
There you go. I actually have my castle call already. My castle call does involve binning it. So we'll go through that later.
So, like we said, one of the most famous tracks. Like, I guess, Scott, obviously you are the brains of the operation here. I am the proverbial point guard of the show. You're the one with a lot of the historical Formula One knowledge from watching for quite a long time, and a student of the sport.
That's right.
What makes Monaco so special, but then also, one of those tracks that people just kind of maybe wish would go away?
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of 2 minds here, right? Like, obviously it's historic track. It's been around for the longest, right? Like, since I said they're racing there in like the 20s, and it's been on the actual F1 calendar for 70 years. So it's got a lot of history. And when you talk about the fact that qualifying matters so much, that is especially true in the modern era of Formula One, because the cars are huge, right? They're big, they're bulky. They're not meant to be raced on a circuit like Monaco with 19 tight turns. The Formula One car, this track would never get approved if it were made today, right? I mean, it just does not fit modern day Formula One. There's almost no areas to overtake. Really, the best area to overtake is heading into turn 10. coming out of the tunnel. So where you see the speed trap on there in sector 2, you're coming out of the tunnel, and then you've got a little, it used to be a chicane there. Now they've made it kind of, 2 separate turns because people were flying off into the bay when it was a chicane going out of control. But that's really one of the areas you're going to see overtakes. Max Verstappen went for it on Lewis Hamilton 2019, didn't get it done, got a penalty, but was given driver of the day for at least going for it. So this is one where qualifying matters because position is it's one of the easiest track to hold your position, right? You have to have a significant advantage in front, or for the car in front, to be able to pass here, to overtake. So qualifying is paramount. But in the same vein, that makes qualifying so exciting, right? While this race can be boring at times, very processional because it's hard to pass, qualifying is absolutely electric. It is the most exciting qualifying. And the reasoning is that it is such a tight track and it is a short track. The fastest lap here was done by Lewis Hamilton in, I think, 2021. It was or 2020, did like a 1 minute 12-second lap, right? So it's a short lap, tenths, thousandths even, especially hundreds matter here. So you're going to see the buildup over the weekend from FP1, FP2, 3 into qualifying, of the drivers getting closer and closer and closer to the barriers, trying to shave off those hundredths and thousandths of seconds moving into qualifying. Last year, we saw an epic qualifying of Fernando Alonso. It looked like he was going to take pole, and then Max somehow dug like a tenth and a half out of the third sector alone. It was unbelievable. And he barely took pole, went on to win the race. You could say that, Aston Martin maybe botched strategy and Alonso could have won. But yeah, so it was close last year. And I'm looking forward to it. Saturdays, if you're going to watch any day, watch Saturday. Sunday will be fun, hopefully, but watch Saturday for sure. Qualifying is great.
Scott, what's the turn, Scott, that you always see where they're getting millimeters away with their, their right side tires? Is that 15 into 16 or
Yeah, so yeah, I know what you're talking about, right? That is 15 and 16. They're coming down because you're picking up speed, right? You come out of like turn 12 and you're going, you take that with a decent amount of speed. And then you get to, at full speed-ish for that area through 13, 14, you'll see them go real quick. And then 15, 16 is where they're getting so close to the barriers. So many people have crashed, including Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, into turn 16, and Mick Schumacher. I mean, we've seen some pretty bad crashes turns 15, 16, but that is where you'll see that zoom in, that really close shot of them like coming by the barrier. And sometimes it looks like they're basically like hitting the barrier. They're getting so close. It's absolutely insane. Sometimes they do hit the barrier and it breaks their suspension and they hit the wall right out of turn 16. So yeah, it's awesome.
very, very crazy. So before we get talking about maybe some predictions and what we're thinking and stuff here, like I teased, McLaren just does Monaco right, Scott. I mean, on screen here, we have the tandem of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri taking a lot of inspiration from Ayrton Senna, excuse me, late here on the East Coast. But I mean, keeping the theme of their season-long helmet that we have here, but this is just, chef's kiss, just beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Lando, like obviously both of them paying homage to Senna, doing it in different ways. Lando kind of keeping his design that he's had like throughout the season, but adding the yellow and green Brazilian flair. And then Oscar, I really like Oscar's helmet. I think it looks so clean. He's done so many good helmets this year. So yeah, no, really cool to see that. And of course, they have the helmets, but sure we've got pictures here of the car. Oh yeah.
For my money, one of the best liveries I've ever seen.
Yep.
Just you've got how many mentions of Senna do they have on here, Scott? They were starting to count. Obviously, there's 2 on the wing, right on the the
one on the back wing. as
Yep.
well. The rear wing, it says Senna, and then there's a few peppered throughout the side. I don't know the exact count, but yeah, it's quite a bit. It's interesting because I agree. I think it's amazing. It looks great. But there is a little controversy with this livery.
Really, I do not know this.
Yeah, so controversy, and this goes back to early 1990s. And it's tough because so again, early 1990s, Senna at this time is driving for Williams, in 93. Again, Imola lost his life there. He was racing against Michael Schumacher, who at that time was driving for Benetton.
Oh, I see where
And
you're
if
going with this.
you pull up, and you don't have to do it here, but guys listening at home, pull up a picture of the Benetton cars and tell me that they don't have some eerie similarities. And again, the where the green and the blue and everything, it's different, right? It's not the exact same. But and of course they're using the yellow and the green here, for Brazil, but there is some similarities between the Benetton cars of, the early 90s and this livery. And the reason that's controversial is because one of the reasons my dad was actually adamant about this, one of the reasons he hated Schumacher is that the Benetton, it was rumored that they were cheating, essentially, using traction control on their car. And one of the reasons that Senna had to push so hard in qualifying in Imola was because he was trying to match the time that the alleged cheating cars of Benetton were using. So, like, my dad kind of always thinks like, oh yeah, Schumacher and Benetton, had a hand in Senna's death. So interesting little tidbit there. But don't want to bring it down. I think it's a great livery, like you said. I think it's one of the best. I think McLaren always bring out really good liveries here in Monaco. We've seen the Gulf livery in the past. This year they're really digging in on Senna, and I think it's great. I think it'll look amazing. And I may have to pick up a 1/18th of Lando Norris's because it looks great.
I'm like just completely mind blown. Like you learn something new every day. I didn't even wasn't aware of that. And of course, as soon as you started to say it, I was like, that looks like the Benetton. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Give it a look. Again, like there's differences, but there's similarities.
This is one of the
adding
best
up.
looks here too. Like on screen here, this is Oscar's
yeah.
car with the green is a little bit more muted than it is, with the high res photos
Right.
that they sent out. But I think it'll be good. And
Yeah.
we're obviously hoping that McLaren is continues to be competitive here. And again, it's going to be very important. One more photo I have to show here. So, and it's actually kind of fitting, Scott, that you have the Ferrari kind of McDonald's shirt on because
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it looks like Oscar and Lando are working for Subway here.
There you
Kind
go.
of the Sprite
Subway
can.
Sprite cans. Yeah, I've heard a few of those. It's tough, man. It's tough with the racing suits, But
The internet remains
funny.
undefeated.
Oh yeah. Always time for a good meme.
So I guess I will ask for some of your picks and your castle calls
yeah.
by the time this comes out, or people will listen or watch to this weekend. Obviously, this is before all the events that have occurred. This is our best guess and mostly Scott's guess because I'm just a complete hack when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off by saying, because we're talking about McLaren. If McLaren goes well here, we are in for a season because McLaren's Achilles heel throughout the last few seasons has always been low speed corners. Always. They are terrible in low speed corners. Monaco's got a few. Monaco has a few low speed corners. So if they're good here, they could potentially be good everywhere. And that is, as we like to say here, spicy for the rest of the season. So I'm hoping and, trying to will it into existence that they are going to be good here. And I think they will be. I mean, listen, I think they'll be top 3, right? I think you're going to be hard pressed to find anyone in, Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren, at least outside the top 10, right? Like there's always someone, a Fernando Alonso, maybe even a Yuki Tsunoda, a Hamilton could put in a special lap and be up there. I mean, Fernando Alonso was second last year and held that spot all the way to the flag. So it could happen. But I don't think it's going to. I think my predictions here. I think Max is going to be on pole. And don't hate. I can hear everyone already booing me. I can literally hear it right now.
Ooh.
Right? But don't do it, because I said last week, I'm going to predict Max on pole every single week until he's not. Right? Until he's not. He tied Senna with 8 consecutive last week. And he did it to start the season, which actually I think is really freaking cool. The fact that he's like just right at the beginning of the season, bam, pole, just running them off. So I have him on pole, but for my actual race predictions, you'll be surprised here, because again, like I said, I've got Max on pole. I want to pull it up just to make sure I don't mess anything up. I have Charles Leclerc finally breaking the Monaco curse. I'm repping the Ferrari here right now. I've got the Ferrari logo. I'm Leclerc to win. Okay.
He's got
Book
pretty
it.
good odds. We don't offer betting advice on the show, but I mean, he's got some good odds if you're into that
Yeah.
thing.
Does have good odds. And I mean, I think it's because he's just always struggled here for one reason or another. Whether, he has a great qualifying, but, broke his car, or he's winning the race and then his team F's his strategy. So, like, I'm hoping that everything is going to come together. Again, I think Max will be on pole. I think Leclerc will be like second or third, but I think, I'll get to my castle call in a second here. But I think he's going to
Ooh.
be first. And then I think Lando second and Oscar third. So I actually think McLaren are going to be very strong here. I think they're going to, fingers crossed, get their low speed corner thing figured out. And we'll see 2 McLarens, which will be really cool to see those Sprite cans on the podium. But I think McLaren will be 2-3 with Leclerc in first. And my castle call is the reason that this is all going to happen, because I have as a castle call that Max Verstappen is going to hit the wall in the race and DNF. And
Wow.
again, I feel like I'm trying to will this into existence the same way I did in Australia, said that he would DNF and then he did. I'm trying to will this into existence, because let me tell you, if Leclerc wins this race and Lando comes in second and Max has a DNF, dude, we may have a championship battle on our hands, and that would be legendary. So
For Max to get no points and,
yeah,
Leclerc to get closer to
like
first, and I
25 or
think
26.
Lando is Lando in third yet or not? I think Perez is.
No. Yeah, Lando is still a little bit further back, but yeah, I mean, I think he would potentially, depending on how Perez does, could like catapult into third, but maybe he'd still be in fourth. But it would definitely, I mean, it would put Leclerc right there. And on top of that, if Max, like, his DNF in Australia is like, oh, what can I do? There's Scott came over and put chrome base in my brake ducts, and there's nothing I can do about it. But if he hits the wall and it's like his mistake, that could be the beginning of the unraveling, right? Like he could get frustrated, and then the next time he's battling with someone, maybe him and Leclerc crash, and then like Lando goes through and wins, and there's no points for Max again. Like it could be something that spirals, and I'm putting it in to the universe here. So yeah, so that's what my castle call is. We'll see if it comes to fruition, but it'll be exciting nonetheless. There's a small chance of rain, which can always throw a wrench in anybody's strategy. Mixable conditions, changeable conditions in Monaco. If you ever race on Formula One game, F1 23 or now F1 24, which they're doing a whole big thing with drivers and social media stars doing a little race, the unveiling of F1 24 this weekend in Monaco. If you've ever done Monaco in the rain,
You want to be
with
humble.
like, yeah, if you want to be
If
humbled,
you want to be humbled in life, even on like rookie mode with AI assist, just try racing at Monaco. You will use the reverse and the rewind like 200 times.
Absolutely. It's tough. It's tough. And that's why qualifying is so exciting, because that is when the cars are on the ragged edge, when they are pushing every millimeter, every millisecond out of the car. And that's why Monaco qualifying is so exciting. And that's why because I used to be one of the guys who's like, take it off the calendar. Like, it's a boring race. But I think, now, I mean, God, we've got 24. We're going to be set for like 25 races coming up here. Like, you know what? Sure. I think it's fine to have one on the calendar where it's like all we really care about is Saturday, unless something crazy happens on Sunday. And I think that's fine. So, yeah, I'm
And this
excited.
is and this is the one, I mean, maybe outside of Vegas now where there's the most pomp and circumstance. You're gonna
Oh,
see the most celebrities, everyone is gonna be here. This is where this is where Drive to Survive gets a lot of their footage, just
right.
because they always show tons and tons of Monaco. Um,
Yep.
One of these years, we're gonna have to do it on location recording. We'll just have to find it in the budget.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a budget of about $0. Actually, we go in the negative every month because we have to pay for the fees and stuff. But
It's true.
one of these days, I swear we're gonna be able to swing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll happen.
Uh,
It'll definitely happen.
labor of love.
When one of our sons becomes a millionaire, they can pay for us to go out there.
Yeah, we'll see about that. All right. Let's keep this episode a little bit on the shorter side. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on in the castle. The castle was built on 2020 Topps Chrome Sapphire Edition.
Right.
Just opened. I think we talked about it last episode out. It just opened some 2020, and yeah, another big hit. Surprise, surprise.
Another Pat Baraja coming out. This time, MP Motorsport Formula 2 logo here. Hit for Supermax Super MSC for Helen. My first pad for Helen, which is actually kind of crazy considering how many times she's had the F2 spot, or the all other F2 spot on my 2020 Sapphire. So finally did it. And it was funny because we were opening it. If you know anything about 2020, you know the Sato Mojo. And so this is 3-box break. Granted, it was from a case, right? So I ran 3 boxes before, 3 boxes now. In the first 3 boxes, we hit 2 gold variations. In these 3 boxes, we hit 3 more variations. One of the boxes had 2. So we're at 5 variations out of 6. And literally, you're supposed to average 4. And I keep saying this, like, you're supposed to average 4. And I remember opening cases and cases and cases of stuff, and I was averaging 4 or 3. And it just seems like all the stuff that's left over, they're like, oh, crap, we forgot all the variations. Throw them in. And like all the last case I've opened from this one source has had like 7, 8, or 9 variations. So bunch of variations. But in the last box, I opened for the first parallel. It was the 70th Marino Sato car. And I was like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand what this means. I was like, the Sato Mojo is real. Trust me. There is going to be something good in this box. And 2 packs later, I saw pink and I was like, oh God. And what was funny is that there was another Marino Sato, just a base card in that same pack. So it was the double Sato Mojo. And there you go. MP Motorsport. MP Motorsport in 2022 won the team championship in Formula 2 and the driver championship with Felipe Drugovich. So pretty good team for Formula 2. And yeah, beautiful logo. I mean, the logos just look absolutely phenomenal in 2020 Sapphire. So yeah, huge hit there. We'll be running the rest of that case at some point over the next couple of weeks. I've got 2 cases of 2023 Sapphire posted, 3 cases of 2023 Chrome. And I do have to say a little special shout out. And actually, when this goes live, if like at 10 a.m. This is gonna be the same time I'm going live. So Friday, 10 a.m. If you're listening to this, I'll probably be live on Instagram. I'm doing a birthday rip for Jeff Crypto Cards. 3 cases of 2023 Chrome, 3 cases of 2023 Sapphire, and a case, sealed case of 2020 Sapphire. And if all goes well, if we hit a big pad or something in 2020, maybe a case of 2020 dynasty. But yeah,
Whoa!
yeah,
Happy birthday,
I
Jeff.
know. But yeah,
That's awesome.
2020 Sapphire, insane. So
Yeah, just one of the great ones in the hobby. He's, and it's
it's a
funny
legend.
too. Yeah, I mean, he's out there ripping a lot of this stuff, and actually, for those of like myself, and I know that you've mentioned a bunch of times too, doing the single shows that you do on Fanatics Live.
That's right.
There's where a lot of the cards come from.
It's like
So
90% Jeff's cards.
he is doing all of us a service to get all of these cards out there while he hunts for the rare one of ones and of the ilk there. So that'll be
Very
awesome.
cool.
I hope you hit something massive.
Same.
I know
Same.
like actually a good way to close the show here too, because we talk obviously a lot about 2020 Sapphire. I know you've mentioned it quite a few times on your streams on Instagram. You kind of refer to this as the Big Seven. What is the Big Seven, Scott?
The Big Seven. So the Big Seven are the 7 biggest cards that are still available, allegedly, right? They're not on the pop reports or anything. So the 7 biggest cards that are still out there in 2020 Sapphire. And now this doesn't include logos. Once you add logos in, it gets a little murky. Like I pulled the Mercedes logo, it was pretty big. But the biggest 7 that the community kind of holds, that I kind of coined, the Big 7. George Russell, portrait and variation. Lando Norris, portrait and variation. Charles Leclerc, portrait and variation. And Max Verstappen, variation. So those 7 cards are the biggest cards out there. Obviously, Max is going to be the most valuable of those 7. But Jeff, if you could pick anything to hit,
It's gonna be Leclerc's. Yeah.
Leclerc variation would probably be the biggest card. So yeah, we're hoping for one. We're hoping one of the big 7. Any of those would be insane, but especially Leclerc on his birthday, that would be a moment. I might make 2 trips to Singapore this year if if that happens. So
That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. So, all right, exciting weekend,
yep.
exciting Friday plan. So, if you are not too into potentially doing your day job, or maybe you want to multitask, you want to see some cards opening, tuned into the at F1 Castle on Instagram,
10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern time, and I'll pat myself on the back there. It's at least 2 or 3 episodes where I haven't screwed that up. So
you're crushing it.
Well, I guess if you want to describe it as that. So, all right. So again, 2 episodes this week. We'll be coming back again next week. Hopefully, we can keep this two a week rotation up as long as like either of us aren't away for vacations, holidays, whatever that other stuff is going on here. Again, thanks everybody that's been tuning in on Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, comments. Try to comment on everything. Shout out to Manny. He's always one of the first to say let's go, or his way is let's go.
Let's go, Apex.
Let's go.
Love it.
Yeah, shout out to Manny. Yeah, so definitely we'll be able to keep this under 30 here. So put me out of my misery here, Scott. I'm rambling a little bit.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy Monaco weekend. Always fun. Tune in for some cards. But in the meantime, guys, collect your cardboard and keep it carbon.